The rise and fall of Macaulay Culkin is genuinely wild. Hello, you gorgeous donuts. In the early 1990s, one child was arguably more famous than every single adult on the planet. His face was everywhere, he was breaking records every single week, and by the age of 10, he became Hollywood's biggest superstar. But just as fast as Macaulay Culkin reached his height of fame, he vanished overnight. Lawsuits were coming in, there was family chaos behind the scenes, tabloids were having his life. People stopped looking at Macaulay as a child star and started seeing him as like a cautionary tale. During these hard times, people wrote him off as finished, whereas some people said he never had a chance to begin with. So in this video, we're going to document how Macaulay Culkin reached the height of fame he did, what happened after he reached that height of fame, and how his own success almost destroyed him. And at the end of this video, we're also going to have a look at where Macaulay Culkin is today. Genuinely, this is so interesting. I'm so excited to share his journey with you. Let's get into it. Now, Macaulay Culkin was born in 1980 in New York City. He has 7 siblings and they all lived in what was claimed to be a tiny New York apartment. Now, obviously, him and 7 siblings living in that apartment, that's going to be very squished and it's probably not going to be the best way to grow up. He's quoted in saying, "We lived in a tiny New York apartment, basically a hallway, no doors except the bathroom, and even that didn't lock. 7 kids were raised there for years." Macaulay also lived with his father and mother. His father, Kit, was actually a child star himself, which I didn't know prior to researching for this video, and I definitely think Macaulay's father, Kit, pushed Macaulay into doing acting gigs from young. When he was 4 years old, he was appearing in like small-time adverts, and Macaulay's 2 other brothers, Rory and Kieran, were also pushed into acting. Also, you may know them, like they're very successful in their own right. However, it was Macaulay who first appeared in an actual movie. He was credited for a role in Rocket Gibraltar in 1988, which was closely followed by another movie called See You in the Morning a year later. Also, Uncle Buck was in the same year in 1989, which is like a huge movie, and arguably his biggest movie to date at this time. And it's weird looking at Macaulay, like, in this movie, because when you see him as a child in a movie, you just think of the obvious movie we're going to get onto. It's very hard to see him playing another character. That's not his fault, that's just obviously what comes with having a very successful movie in your career. But very early on, you could see the signs that he was a very talented child actor.
Your sister always this pleasant?
No, she's usually in a bad mood in the morning.
I've always thought Macaulay Culkin's line delivery from young has been like perfect, so good. Most adult actors can't even deliver their lines with like that kind of funny twist on them. Now, Macaulay's performance in Uncle Buck would impress the director John Hughes so much that when John Hughes was appointed as the producer on Home Alone, he would actually recommend to the director of Home Alone to bring Macaulay in as the star of the movie. Now, obviously, as most people watching this video will know, this was a life-changing moment for Culkin and would kind of make him a superstar overnight after appearing in this movie. For anybody that doesn't know what Home Alone is somehow, it's like a very famous Christmas movie, arguably the most famous Christmas movie ever. It documents how a little boy gets left alone at Christmas and basically these 2 robbers try and rob his house and he's kind of got to defend his house in very funny ways. I think it's my favourite Christmas movie alongside Elf. Like them 2. Let me know what your favourite one is, but I feel like them 2 are the best. And also Klaus on Netflix gets an honorary mention. That is remarkable, that one. Remarkable. That's a great adjective. Okay. Vocabulary's coming up a level. Home Alone would be released in 1990, and this film only had a production cost of $18 million. I say only, but in terms of the success of it, that is quite small. Bearing in mind, it made $476 million at the box office. Just a little bit of a profit there. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a lot. And this made it the highest grossing live action comedy movie like ever at that specific time. And it also held the #1 spot at the box office for 12 consecutive weeks. And when I was reading through interviews and extracts of people talking about Home Alone when it came out, it wasn't expected to be like such a huge movie. Obviously, Macaulay Culkin had little roles at this time, but he was hardly like an A-list celebrity. Like, he was hardly carrying the movie as the main character, like in the run-up to it. But as many people will know who've seen this movie, him playing Kevin McAllister is one of the most iconic roles ever.
Get upstairs.
I am upstairs, dummy.
He was such a little in this movie. I remember watching this as a child being like, he's cool as out him, like, bearing in mind he's just calling his mum a dummy. I used to think he was so cool. Still do, to be fair, as an adult, like, to be able to bat off two, like, adult burglars, gotta have some aura about you. Now, obviously, because of the huge worldwide success of this movie, Macaulay was getting asked to do interviews every single day, which obviously is going to be really overwhelming for a child, bearing in mind he's only 10 years old at this point. For anybody that has any younger siblings, like, you know how young a 10-year-old is. It's pretty crazy that he was in the limelight from this age. Look at him walking in, man.
Mac, how you doing?
Hi, this is Mac. Can we call you Mac?
Sure.
Thank you.
Jump up here.
This would give you so much main character syndrome as a child, like everybody just worshipping you from the age of 10. Like, that's got to have some sort of effect on you growing up, because obviously these are like the most pivotal years of your development. You're trying to figure out who you're going to become, and absorbing all of this must be so wild. Like, I don't think anybody watching this video, unless they've been a child star themselves, can recognize what that would do to someone's brain.
I'm very skinny. I weigh about 62 pounds. Like, when kids in my class weigh about 97, so they outweigh me by about, like, 30 pounds.
Take you to Radu and bulk you up.
And that's already kind of sad. You can see the way that they're talking. Their first question is about his weight. Bearing in mind he's 10 years old. Already you can see the way that the media is trying to subtly kind of, I guess, criticize him and kind of, you know, kind of bring certain stuff up. Obviously he answers very wholesomely there, and it doesn't seem like anything's the matter. But all of these things getting put in your mind from a young age, I honestly think will affect you. Like, I know at 10 years old, I wasn't thinking about my weight.
You're a hot property at the moment, aren't you? I read in the papers, $1 million for your next movie.
Wow.
He's just exactly like Kevin McAllister. It's like he wasn't even acting in that movie. Now, as you've just heard Terry Wogan mention money there, I do find it interesting how much Macaulay was actually paid for the first Home Alone. Bearing in mind, it made almost $500 million. For his performance as Kevin McAllister, he was paid around £100,000 allegedly. Now, I know for a 10-year-old, that is a hell of a lot of money. That's a hell of a lot of money for anyone. Never mind a 10-year-old. When you compare it to the success of the movie, and, you know, the starring role arguably is played by him, it is kind of low. It is really low. Like, other people would definitely be getting paid more for their role in this. Other actors in the film did get paid more than Macaulay, such as Joe Pesci, but obviously he's like a huge actor before this. He got paid around $3 million for his performance in Home Alone. And Daniel Stern, who plays the other half of the Wet Bandits, got paid $300,000. So even Daniel Stern, who wasn't, you know, a huge name, I don't believe, going into this, still got treble the money of Kevin. I say Kevin, Macaulay. And just a side note, if you didn't know, Macaulay's brother in real life, Kieran Culkin, was actually in Home Alone. He played like his weird cousin. If you didn't know that, I just find that a fun fact. Now, obviously, due to the huge success of Home Alone and how liked Macaulay Culkin was at this time, the producers of the first movie actually decided to make a sequel to Home Alone. This is called Home Alone Lost in New York City, and I actually really enjoyed this sequel. A lot of sequels to Christmas movies especially, and also comedy movies in general, normally are a bit naff, but I actually really like the sequel of Home Alone. It is very much like the first one, but I loved the first one, so I kind of like that. We don't talk about all of the other Home Alone movies that came after that because they were just absolutely dire. Bearing in mind Macaulay Culkin wasn't a part of those as well, that's probably got something to do with it. And the sequel also was a huge success. It earned $350 million, which obviously is just a massive amount. And for Macaulay, he actually got paid a lot more for this movie, luckily. This was the film that I believe would finally make him a millionaire. He got a base salary for Home Alone 2 of $4.5 million allegedly, and he also got a percentage of the box office. I think it was around 5% of all sales, and also got a percentage of merchandise. So very clearly he got better management for this time. Just a small $4.4 million raise from the first movie, not much, you know. However, looking back at this time, you can see some cracks starting to kind of show in Macaulay's personality. We saw the first interviews for the first movie. He looks very full of life. He looks like he's kind of, you know, taking it all in, just riding the wave, and I definitely think a lot changed after the second one.
I was there for like 4 days. I was shooting something.
Ah, okay. A commercial or?
Yeah, it was a small part in the movie.
Aha, okay. Well, here we are with Home Alone 2.
Now, obviously, I am nitpicking here, but you can kind of see just, like, in general, you know, he doesn't seem as playful, very just, like, one-word answers, not really smiling too much. And we're going to see later in this video why this is, because behind the scenes, which nobody could see, this was contributing to why he feels the way he does right now. But just on the surface, you can imagine how overwhelming this would be for a 12-year-old at this point. Obviously, he's a millionaire now, but he's not seeing any of this money at this point, so his kind of, you know, and what does a 12-year-old really need money for as well? I know you can buy loads of toys and whatever, but you still should be able to be a child at that age, despite obviously earning all of this money. And I know if you're an adult now, you can say, oh, well, he's preparing himself for the future. And from like an adult's mind, that makes total sense. But a child doesn't think like that. Like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old child isn't like, right, I'm going to make loads of money so I can like retire early. Like, they just don't think about that. They're just like, can I just like play with me wrestling figures and just, can everyone just shut up and just bring us sweets, please? Now, after the sequel of Home Alone release, Macaulay would definitely kind of try and shift his brand away from being Kevin McAllister, and he would try his hand in other movies. My Girl, The Good Son, Richie Rich, and more. The only one of these that I have heard of is Richie Rich, because obviously that IP is very famous. Now, he would be like the richest kid in the world in this movie and has basically everything he wants. He's quite spoiled. But when you look at him, just off the footage, again, it's very hard to get your mind out of him being Kevin McAllister. I don't know why that is. I think it's just because that performance is so iconic. It's very difficult for you to kind of understand that this is not the same universe now. He's playing another character. Like, that's just Kevin McAllister. I'm sorry. I can't shift me head. Like, where's the Wet Bandits? Are they coming in soon? This makes no sense. Why is other people in his home? This doesn't make any sense to me. Now, this is known as typecasting, where you kind of just think of someone playing a certain role, and it's very difficult for your mind to kind of shift them out of that role. And I definitely think this had an effect on how these movies perform. Movies like Richie Rich were seen as a disappointment in the box office, and it is a shame, because I definitely don't think it's down to his talent as an actor. I think he's a very talented young actor at this point. The same thing happened with Daniel Radcliffe. It's so hard to look at Daniel Radcliffe, especially when he was younger, and not see him as Harry Potter. It just, I don't know why it's different for children than it is for adults, but it just is. You just kind of see them as one person. It's a really interesting conversation, because obviously you'd want a movie that you're in to be like the most successful movie ever, so you have a lot of like financial gain, you're rewarded for your talent, you feel kind of fulfilled, I guess, that you're finally, you know, you've hit the big time, you've hit your goals. But also, if it becomes a level of fame that's like iconic, then it kind of hinders you for the rest of your career. I wonder in Hollywood if there's like a certain point that you want it to be successful to, but not further than that, so then you can get other roles. It's such an interesting conversation, and I wonder where the line actually like is. By the way, I don't want to say Daniel Radcliffe is not successful after Harry Potter, because he is hugely successful. Now he's, you know, became an adult and stuff. He's been in so many good things. But I just wanted to bring that up to kind of compare to what Macaulay is also experiencing and how it can go a different route. And I think after him doing projects that weren't, you know, hitting the heights of Home Alone, this kind of made Macaulay fall out of love with acting. And by 1994, he actually took a step back from acting in general. He said that he wanted to be a normal teenager and just attend school and leave Hollywood behind, which, by the way, is such like a bold step to make, especially at his young age. He doesn't want this fame. Like, obviously he's been pushed into this by his dad, and this was kind of given to him, and he's obviously worked very hard, but now he wants to make his own decision, and the fact that he chose that shows, I guess, how, you know, genuine he is. Because a lot of people would just ride the wave and want to be more and more and more and more famous, because that's the only thing that, you know, brings value to them, I guess. Now, there is other reasons why Macaulay might have taken this break. One huge reason is to do with his father, Kit. Apparently, Kit, during Macaulay's career, was very, very controlling, which we're going to see interviews of Macaulay talking about how bad he was to him. But Kit was getting a reputation within the industry of being very difficult to deal with, and he was very controlling of his son, and he picked every single movie that his son would be in. Macaulay would have like very little choice in it as well. And in 1995, a year after Macaulay stepped back from acting, Macaulay's parents would actually split up and get divorced in 1995, and this would lead to a very, very prolonged legal battle about who's got custody of the children. Kit was fighting to keep Macaulay and his other kids, and he was basically determined to like keep a hold of managing their careers. You could say this because he wants to take care of them, or another reason is because, you know, obviously they're the people that are funding his life at the moment, his own children. Without them, then I guess he has to get a job. Now, in 1997, the legal battle actually did finish, and Patricia, Macaulay's mother, actually got custody of the children, which in my opinion was a good thing. But around this time, Macaulay actually had both of his parents taken off his trust fund, which, like, when I was researching this, I was so happy that that happened, because you see so so many times with the parents of child stars. They kind of take all the money for themselves, and when the child actually becomes an adult, they're like, where's the money? Like, I've worked all of this time and I have no money to show for it. Now, obviously, this was going wild in the press, all of these things, because people were still interested in Macaulay, especially with him taking a step back from the limelight. And this forced him in 2000 to actually do his own interview for the first time, like coming back into the spotlight. And he revealed how bad it was with his father.
My father was very good at breaking people's spirits and holding them down. And he did that to all of us, including my mother.
Your father was described as the father from hell.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that. I remember him sitting on the phone screaming his head off at God knows who. And I mean, that was a daily thing. And it was just the way my father was, so I just kind of accepted it. I mean, you have to remember that I was only 9, 10, 11, 12. I had no control over it.
This is something that, you know, people do forget. Like, when you look at Macaulay Culkin, you probably think that, you know, that's the best way to start your life, by, you know, just making millions at a young age. But you don't actually see all of the stuff behind the scenes. Like, this little boy was growing up in a really toxic household with a father that he is labelled, you know, abusive, which, by the way, is terrible for any child to go through. But then as a young lad, as like 10 years old, he's then got to put on a happy front to the cameras. Like, most adults would struggle doing that if there was some abuse in their lives, never mind a child. And nobody knew any of this, like, when he was at the height of his fame. And it kind of breaks my heart that, you know, like, it actually makes me kind of want to cry seeing like a 10-year-old having to like hold in like how horrible all of these stuff is at home and pretend to be really happy because he knows that's what people want from him. Like, that little 10-year-old boy was having to, you know, process all of these emotions.
He was the same way on the phone with these people in Los Angeles as he was with me and the rest of my family. It's very weird, because I know whatever I say about him, he's going to try to contradict everything I say. But, you know, yes, he was very hard on me. And he would deny me certain things in my life that I enjoyed. Like, if he felt I wasn't trying hard enough or something like that, he wouldn't let me play basketball, even though I liked doing it. My brother and me slept on the couch. We didn't even have our own bedroom. I mean, I was making... Forget about how much money I was making, but I was sleeping on the couch.
He was the biggest child star on earth. And he didn't have a bed. Bro, I was looking at him going like, oh my God, like, it must be meant to be him. But little did I know, I had a bed. I was like, I had one up on him. Like, this is so horrible to listen to. The fact that he was struggling with all this, and also, you know, his father just being so mean and trying to, like, you know, force this toxic masculinity on him and these really toxic methods to kind of motivate him, I guess, to work harder. Whereas in reality, it just does the total opposite thing. And these are things as a child you absorb as normal because you have nothing to compare it with. Like, if all you do is work and go home as like a 10-year-old, you're not really going to your friends' houses and seeing like how their family dynamic is. You just think this is completely normal.
He wanted me to know, and my brother to know, that he was in charge, and that if he didn't want us to sleep on a bed, we weren't going to sleep on a bed.
I don't want to be maudlin, but did he ever hug you? Did he ever say, I love you?
Well, yeah, but I don't think it was, he never really did it unless it was for show.
If one really wants to complain about him as an outsider, it might be that he made you do film after film after film.
I mean, I had no say. I've done 14 films, and I've never read one of the scripts, not one of them. And I had a basic idea of what it was about, but I wouldn't actually know what it was until I'd actually go to the premiere and I'd see it. We'd study the lines the night before.
You and your father?
And say, yeah.
Yeah.
We'd study the lines, go out there, and then just do it.
And this just obviously, as you can probably, you know, tell, you don't need me to say this, but his father was using him. As you can kind of see, you can tell Macaulay doesn't even know if his father loves him for him. He just loves that he was of use to him. So he was taking everything from Macaulay. All Macaulay wanted was, I guess, his dad to be like, I love you, or like give him a hug in private, not to the cameras. And again, these are all stuff that he will be thinking about when he's 10 years old, just thinking like, wait, is this normal? Is this what dads are meant to be like? And all these things are just going to be insecurities that he probably took into like adulthood.
There was no fun. It was just study, spit it out.
Basically. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Roll sound.
I knew at least I wanted to have a break.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted, because it was one after the other. I never did a full year of school, never really had a full summer vacation, stuff like that. So I remember I went up to my father and I asked him, I said, I think I need some time off. I'm really, really exhausted. And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. And the next thing I knew, I was on the next set doing the next thing. And I mean, especially after that, I really turned myself off.
Also, your career was going down because your father put you in so many different kinds of movies that it was almost as if you did Richie Rich and you did the Nutcracker.
And then Getting Even with Dad and all those things. I was actually very happy that they were not being as successful. I was hoping to disappear off the face of the earth.
And that is just so sad to hear. Like, he was plotting for his films to do bad so he could finally leave this hell that he thought he was in. Now, I do want to kind of say, a lot of people might look at this and be like, oh, what, boo-hoo, you're making millions per movie. But he already has money. And again, he's a child at this point, so he doesn't care about money. But he already has money and he doesn't understand in his child brain. Why can't I just do what my mates are doing? Why can't I just go to school? Like, all he wants in life is to go to school, and I just find that quite sad. Later in this interview, he also goes on to talk about how his father would also, physically harm him if he wasn't doing something his father wanted.
At one point, you called the police about your father.
Yeah. I went off somewhere for the weekend, and I didn't tell him. And he got he got angry with me, and gave me a nice swipe across the cheek. And I just went down, and then he told me to get up. And I said, and I looked at him. I was like, I'm not going to fight you, because I knew that's what he wanted me to do. He gave me another one, and my brother had walked into the apartment or something like that, and I just said, F you. I'm gonna, and I closed my door, locked it, called the cops on him.
This is so deep, isn't it? It's it makes us so upset for him. And bearing in mind, I think in this interview, he's 20 years old. So being able to kind of, he's very clearly not at peace with it, because, you can see on his face it very much troubles him to this day, which it obviously will. But the fact, even at 20 years old, he's recognizing these patterns and, understanding what has actually went on in his childhood and how that isn't actually normal. And honestly, watching this interview, he comes across as really sincere, and you can tell he doesn't want people to kind of feel sorry for him. He just wants to share his story and share the reasons why people do think he's weird, because that's always been a thing with Macaulay Culkin. People have always looked at him and thought, you're a bit strange or whatever. But I think everybody watching this video, if they grew up how he grew up, would also be very strange. He hasn't grew up how everyone else has, so he's not going to be like what everybody else is. Now, Macaulay, after this interview, would again kind of just go back and take a back seat, not really be in the limelight too much, until 4 years later an article actually got published with the headline that Macaulay Culkin was addicted to illegal substances, and he was actually arrested. Now, he was only arrested for being in possession of marijuana, I believe, which obviously, it's still a drug and stuff, but I remember from that time it getting made out to be a lot worse than what it was. Obviously, he's breaking the law, he gets arrested, fair play, but it's hardly like he got arrested for the heaviest of the heaviest stuff here. I remember all of these photos getting published on front pages where he was looking like this and this, and every time that Macaulay didn't look like how he was meant to look like in the tabloid's eyes, they would kind of make it a thing. There was even headlines like Macaulay Culkin's addiction possibly got him terminally ill, which is just wild. Bearing in mind, none of these tabloids know for sure that what he's addicted to, or even if he is addicted in the first place, just because he got arrested for that. There was loads of rumours circulating that he was actually addicted to heroin, and all of this was going wild. Now, I do want to kind of make it clear, from Macaulay Culkin's perspective, he has always said that he's never ever been addicted to heroin. In his own words, he says he denies ever having a severe drug addiction. He dismissed extensive tabloid rumours as fictional. He has, however, admitted to using recreational substances in the past, but stated he never reached a point where he needed outside help or formal rehab. So that's coming from the man himself. He basically admitted to using some, but he doesn't say he has an addiction. Now, I know you kind of have to take his word for it and everything, but I do want to just kind of give you the what he actually said about this, because I feel like it is important. When the tabloids were constantly pushing the rumours of him being addicted to it, he actually came out with another statement, and his team said, no, I was not pounding $6,000 of every month or whatever. It's even wild that he's gonna come out and be like, look, I'm not doing this. Why are you making these rumours up about me? Just leave me alone. I've said that I want to go into the shadows. Why are you still talking about me? Now, around this time, Macaulay would also come under fire for his involvement in the whole Michael Jackson case. Now, I'm not gonna go into depth with this, because obviously that's an entire other video itself and doesn't really kind of centre around Macaulay Culkin. But I do want to note that he very much said that Michael Jackson never did anything bad to him. I believe he would actually testify in the whole case as well. Yeah, I found a clip of it here. There he is waiting to go in. Now, this is very interesting because, again, you know, he looks very young there. The press definitely were trying to paint Macaulay out as somebody that is, you know, evil for, like, you know, defending such, you know, in their eyes, a horrible person. And whenever he would go on, like, major networks, you could tell they were trying to make him feel bad for saying that, you know, Michael did nothing to him specifically.
How would you define it?
Well, we're friends, but I don't know when this happened, but at some point in my life or career or whatever, I've become, like, the Michael Jackson ambassador, and I don't know how this happened.
You really have been.
I don't know why. Well, you know,
You're not the only one. Elizabeth Taylor's another one.
yeah, but at the same time, I'm more out there, I guess. You know, I guess I'm a hair more accessible.
And you were the little boy with him, so there was all that.
Of course, and that's, I mean,
so that's part of it, I think.
Exactly.
You know what, Mackie still has his chimp.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Like, they're very disrespectful to him. Like, you know, this is his experience as a child being... It's a weird experience being with an adult as a child and, you know, you're not related and whatever. And I feel like they're always talking over him and they're not really letting him speak. They're trying to put words in his mouth. And you can see he's being sincere. He's like, I don't even know why this is a thing. I just came out and said, look, like, nothing happened to me.
Children, right? So...
Yeah, and, you know, he's a friend of mine, and he is. But at the same time, he's the kind of friend of mine that I talk to once or twice a year on the phone.
Long distance.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not...
But you can see on his face, like, they're taking the piss out of him. And I find it uneasy. Like, these, like, older, like, women just kind of, like, on him a little bit. They've got him on to basically just kind of tarnish his image.
Well, that's because of the isolation that he's done to himself.
Well, which
really.
came first?
What?
The isolation, or isolation? What came first?
I think maybe it was a little bit of both. I mean, I don't really have a grand insight into
They're
it.
definitely, you can see they're trying to, like, catch him out and get him to say something that, you know, makes him look bad. Whereas in reality, he doesn't really, you know... He doesn't know. I like that all the comments as well are, like, you know, backing Macaulay up here and calling the presenters disgusting, because it wasn't very nice what they did to him. Now, again, I don't want to get too much into this because that is like an entire case itself, but I just wanted to make note of this being a thing during Macaulay's career. Now, again, after all of this controversy, Macaulay again would just take a step back, as every single time he seems to come in the limelight, he just gets criticised, and it just kind of, you know, it's very overwhelming, I can imagine. And he would later come back with doing just side projects that definitely weren't appealing for the tabloids to kind of get a hold of, because there was no controversy with them. For instance, he started a band called the Pizza Underground, and they had like a YouTube channel. They were releasing like music videos and promotional videos. It's kind of funny. As you can see, there's Macaulay with long hair. And it's just a song about pizza. Again, when people call him weird, he is kind of weird, but it's kind of, like I said, there's a reason why this guy is just a bit odd. And I think it's very valid. He'd even upload like weird videos to the YouTube channel where he was basically just eating a slice of pizza, and this was like the promo video for the band. By the way, this is all satire as well, I believe. Like, he knows that it's a bitch. He doesn't actually think this is like amazing, which I actually like. It's just very self-aware. What is this? Oh my god, if the wet bandits could see this man now, they'd be shook. They'd never enter that house. He also had a podcast around this time, and it was also like a website as well called The Bunny Ears. I think the podcast was actually really successful. It had like many big people on it, and I think Macaulay was just kind of talking to them about their lives and stuff. And like I said, these projects definitely showed a different side to him that was like, you know, relatable and, you know, self-aware. It was funny, and it wasn't a way for him to get back in Hollywood. Like, he very clearly has no intent of being back there at this point. Now, later in 2018, he would actually go on Joe Rogan's podcast, which kind of put him a little bit back into the mainstream, I guess, like loads of people kind of seeing him for the first time in a while. They would talk on a lot of topics, such as why Macaulay no longer acts.
Is that because you're just not interested, or?
Yeah, kind of not interested. I don't really like the pursuit of it. You know, like, yeah, like what it takes
whole process,
to yeah,
auditions,
exactly. I don't like being on the circuit kind of thing. Looking at so, but yeah, no, you know, I write a lot, I paint a lot. Like, I just kind of always have like some kind of projects. And then also, like I said, we got the website, bunnyears.com.
Now, I definitely think a lot of this is down to how much he kind of worked as a child, and also he has the money now. So he doesn't feel motivated to put himself back in that kind of circuit and how intense it can be, because he just wants to do things he's passionate about. Like, singing about pizza. He also talked about how weird it was, like, growing up famous, and give us like a little bit of like an inside perspective on that.
It's always the way my life has been, kind of thing. Like, in the same way that like a lot of kids, like, you know, they go out and they
catch bugs and play sandlot baseball or whatever. Like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, like that's the way it is. Like, you don't really realize how unique the whole situation is until you have perspective, because you have nothing to compare it to, really, other than, I guess, TV shows and movies and things like that. So I knew that my upbringing was unique. I knew it was different. But at the same time, it's kind of just, it's not until you get some perspective, some life experience, until you really realize that, oh wait, this was particularly weird.
I just find it so interesting. Like, imagine that was your perspective on life. Like, you just didn't know, like, how, like, I guess people like me grow up. Like, you just have no idea how the people who watch your movies actually live their lives, because you think that everyone just lives the same way as what you do. Because obviously you would. You have no life experience. And this interview would go down quite well. Like, people just like to, see his perspective and, stuff that we didn't know about him. And it seems like his relationship with the Home Alone franchise as well was a lot healthier. There was one article that came about that said that Macaulay wanted to actually buy the original Home Alone house. He wanted to turn it into a fun house, which is quite interesting. As an adult, he would also do kind of parodies of Home Alone as well. He did this advert for Google Assistant. He basically reenacted Home Alone, but with the Google Assistant helping him.
Mom? Dad? Hey, Google, what's on my calendar today?
You have one event called House to Yourself.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Google, add aftershave to my shopping list. Hey, Google, remind me to clean these sheets later.
Okay, I'll remind you.
How bad would this movie have been if Google Assistant actually was a thing there? Sorry, I know YouTube pay me, but I'm just speaking facts right now, and YouTube is owned by Google, but hey, can't pay for my mouth. Macaulay also hinted at another Home Alone movie, but like a third one in his kind of installment of it, where Kevin McAllister would be the dad. But honestly, I'm not really here for that, because how is it gonna go? Like, I don't understand. Is Kevin McAllister gonna be leaving his kid? Surely he wouldn't, after what he's been through. I just don't think it would really make sense unless the entire kind of storyline was different. And as of today, in 2025, Macaulay does seem a lot more comfortable just talking and just kind of being in the limelight a little bit more. Not obviously at the height of what he once was, but I feel like he feels comfortable with the current level of fame he has. He's done interviews talking again about how his dad just really severely negatively impacted him growing up.
Oh, I haven't spoken to him in 30-something years. Oh, he deserves it too. He's a man who had 7 kids, and now he has 4 grandkids, and none of them want anything to do with him. He's the worst person I've ever known in my entire life.
Go on, Macaulay, son! Stick it to the man! I like this, though, because obviously his dad would have been very manipulative and could easily have, manipulated himself back into his life, and he's just stood firm. He went, no, I don't want this energy around my family, and that is totally fine. As Macaulay actually has a lovely family now. He has 2 sons and also a wife called Brenda Song. People might know her from The Suit Life of Zack and Cody. She was very big in that. So I definitely think, they would have a bond of being, child stars and what that's like. Obviously they can find comfort in each other's stories. That's just an amazing thing that he's finally found someone who is for him. One interview I did think was really funny that I found from present day is when he went on Jimmy Kimmel and he talked about how he watches Home Alone with his family and with his kids, and his kids have no idea that he is Kevin in it.
People ask me that all the time. Do you show your kids? I'm like, yeah, of course. The movie's awesome.
Yeah, good. How old are your kids?
3 and 4. So strike zone. Perfect.
Oh,
2 boys. I'm the maker of men. Humble brag. Yes.
But so do they put 2 and 2 together that dad is the kid?
Well, they don't call it Home Alone. They call it Kevin. You got good taste, but no, they have no idea. They have no idea who they're sitting next to the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah, try to keep it that way. It's like Santa Claus.
Do you imagine that realization moment? I don't know if it's someone at school says or whatever, but they're like, wait. Yeah, that's you, Dad! Is that why we live in this house? Because of this? Are you going to tell us or what? Hopefully I can do that one day with YouTube. Obviously I know I'm nowhere near level of Macaulay Culkin. But maybe when I'm 40-year-old, hopefully I have my family of my own with children. I want to show them these videos and be like, this guy's pretty cool, right? No, this guy would be such a cool dad, wouldn't he? I just think that's so cool. And I'm glad that he finally just seems happy and at peace, because, we need to do a full video on child stars and where they are now, because I find it really interesting. Let me know if you want that. Drop a like on this video. But a lot of child stars often have journeys like Macaulay Culkin, but they never have the comeback and they never reach the happiness. I'm so glad that with Macaulay, he has found some sort of, he's found some sort of happiness in his life, that he can now live how he wants to live, and he's no longer controlled by anybody or anything. It's just really nice after what he's went through. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video, Donuts. I love making these documentary pieces and learning about people. I just find it so intriguing, so hopefully it is very interesting for you as well. If you want to watch another video that is very similar to this one, where we look at the rise and fall of Salt Bae, who was arguably one of the most famous, if not the most famous chef in the world at one point, and how to present day his life is so different, and you wouldn't believe where his career is today. Click this video there. I'll see you over there. Bye bye.
Kirkham, baby.